Make sure you belt it loud from the mountaintops in northeastern Oregon so they can hear you all the way out on the coast. Holy Wallawa! The 6th-ranked Oregon Ducks head into the whiteout. They head into Happy Valley and take down the 3rd-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. This is a big-time statement from Dan Lanning's squad where they can go and play a physical game against one of the most physical teams in the Big Ten, if not all of college football, and win a Big Ten-style slugfest. Whew. There is a lot to talk about. You're pumped. I'm pumped. Let's get into my takeaways from this big-time victory. You can't react to this game. You can't talk about this game without mentioning the dominant defensive effort from this Oregon team. Tosh Lupoi, I know he's been maybe a little bit of a lightning rod within the Oregon fan base, but he deserves a lot of credit, especially with what this Oregon team did through the first 3 quarters of this game, because they had a command on what Penn State was doing offensively. Penn State wasn't able to do much offensively because of what Oregon was able to do on their side of things. The defensive line and the secondary, I think, equally had an awesome game. They had a complementary relationship of dominance throughout this matchup. I want to start up front because coming into this game, it was all about stopping Penn State's run game. And it's interesting because in my preview coming into this game, and I'm like, well, okay, stopping Penn State's run game in this environment, that's going to be tough. All you got to do is to be able to contain it. But they proved me wrong. I said, Ted, we're going to stop it. In the first half, Penn State ran the ball 13 times for 24 yards. There was nothing going on the ground for this Penn State team against this Oregon front. Mateo Uyunglele probably played his best game as an Oregon Duck. I think last year's game against Wisconsin was really good, where he had that game-sealing interception where they needed a performance like him to be able to get out of Madison with a 16-13 rock fight victory. But man, I mean, he did it in pass rush situations. You know, the stat sheet, the box score, and the numbers next to number 10's name is not going to tell the entire story. But he was beating Drew Shelton all night long. He was creating havoc, and he was kind of dictating what a lot of what kind of Penn State was doing offensively. And they weren't doing a lot of offensively. Penn State needed to have an eye on what Mateo was doing every single play. We know about what Mateo can do from a pass rushing standpoint. But coming into this season, he said, hey, I'm doing a lot this offseason to be much better against the run. And this game was an example of that, where he was awesome against the run. He was awesome in shrinking the pocket in pass rush situations as well. I'll tell you what, Mateo earned himself a lot of money tonight. He earned himself a lot of money playing it this good in this big of an environment, that consistently throughout the 60 minutes of play as well. You got to give a big time tip of the cap as well to Bear Alexander. I love the TFL that he had earlier on in this game. But the thing about this whole defensive line was that at the very least, like 95% of the time in this game, they were creating a stalemate, if not playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Penn State, like if they were able to engage and then get to the linebackers, get to that next level, that's where they were going to maybe be able to create some explosive runs. It didn't happen because of how well that group played up front. Tatum Tuioti, man. I mean, every single game, he's exactly where he needs to be. He's playing assignment sound football. I mean, the first drive of the second half, that was a sequence where he made 2 phenomenal plays. The sack on Drew Aller, where Aller's running play action and he's rolling out, and Tatum kind of bites inside a little bit, but he has the range to then create the angle, getting back to the outside quickly, and then keeping Drew Aller contained. I don't think Drew was maybe expecting that. He was maybe expecting to be able to get the edge, and if things weren't open downfield, he was going to be able to scramble out. But instead, Tatum brought him down behind the line of scrimmage. And then he had a key stop later on in kind of a very similar thing where he's able to set the edge, keep the ball to the inside, and be able to make the play. I mean, he's just assignment sound football, fundamentally sound football. I mean, Tatum's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not the quickest guy in the world, but he's just in the right spot at the right time all the freaking time. I mean, I zero in on 44 a lot during my rewatches. I'm like, he's just right there. He's right there. I mean, it seems like he's getting 5 tackles every week, 6 tackles every week. He's not going to like lead the box score in tackles, or he's not going to stand out maybe from like what, in terms of other players on this defense, like from an NFL draft perspective, maybe, and all of that. But he's just a guy that you can count on, that you can depend on to make plays, to be reliable when you absolutely need it. And he's there all throughout a football game, and he's going to step up and make those big plays. And he made certainly some big plays throughout this matchup as well. So the defensive line, just the whole group, was awesome, and they played exactly how they needed to play to get this type of result. And I think their play early in this game allowed Oregon to get out to that 17-3 lead, and it forced Penn State to play in a position that they didn't want to play. Got them off schedule, got them a little bit uncomfortable offensively. And then when you get them uncomfortable, you maybe get them into third and longs, passing situations. Like Penn State, this game proved it. Now, I know Drew Aller, he was tough. He was gritty in this game. But he's not a quarterback that you can put the game on his shoulders. You got to give him a lot of credit. I want to make sure I give him a lot of credit. But he's not a guy where you maybe want to put the game onto his shoulders. I think James Franklin even said it at halftime. It's like, dude, we want to be able to run the ball. That's what we do best. But they put the ball into 15's hand, and then these corners just took over, man. Ife Obadegwu, Brandon Finney. When national college football analysts talk about this game, I can almost guarantee that they will not mention either of those two names. But they were shutting guys down throughout a majority of this game. So we've established the defensive line played great. They couldn't run the ball. And then Penn State's wide receivers couldn't separate, which I kind of predicted would happen coming into this game. Like, I just thought they were, their size, their skill, their speed and athleticism was greater than that on the other side of the ball in Penn State. And that was the complementary relationship that resulted into what we got for 3 quarters of this game. I'll talk maybe about that fourth quarter and what happened, and then the resiliency for Oregon a little bit later on in this game. But great combination. And how about that redemption arc from Dylan Thieneman? Right, he gets beat on that touchdown. I believe, was that the game-tying touchdown, or was it the touchdown before? I can't exactly remember. But then he makes the interception to seal this game in overtime. Game, set, match. Just an awesome performance from this Oregon defensive unit. They deserve a lot of kudos. Let's head over to the offensive side of the ball, man. Dante Moore is the best quarterback in the country. There should be no discussion. I don't care what anybody else says. He is college football's QB1. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And you can look at his stat line and you can look at all the things, but I think the thing that impressed me the most, I see him going out there for the coin toss in his white uniform, and it's half green. I mean, he had to bounce back multiple times. He was on the ground during this game, maybe a little bit more than you would like, even though I thought the offensive line played a pretty good game. You know, there were some highs, there were some lows, certainly from the offensive line. Isaiah World was getting beat a lot by Dennis Sutton. He probably got away with a couple of holding calls, to be brutally honest with you. But, you know, Dante just kept on getting back up. He kept on bouncing back, and just like, when he needed to make a throw, when he needed to make a play, when you needed to convert a third down, when you needed to convert a fourth down, I mean, I just got a couple written here. They happened early, middle, late, overtime. They happened all throughout the game. Dante made big plays when they needed to be made. A 29-yard connection on 3rd and 4 at the start of the fourth quarter to Decorian Moore. The 3-yard run on 4th and 1 in overtime. He did it with his arm. He did it with his legs. Like, he's a guy now, after a performance like this, you look to later in the season, you know, maybe in the regular season, when a play needs to be made you get into a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, you get to the playoff. This performance proves that you can trust Dante that he can make any type of throw in any type of situation and in any type of environment. Here's the fact of the matter. Dante Moore matched the moment. And then he looked back at the moment being whiteout, number 3 versus number 6, and everything that went into this game. Oh, Penn State's great defense, Jim Knowles. All of that was the moment. He matched the moment, and then he looked back and he stared his eyes into the moment and be like, you know what? I demand you to now match me. Look at me. I am the captain now. And you know what happened to the moment? They backed up and said, all right, Dante, you win. And that's why the Ducks won. Because Dante was the moment. He dictated what was going to happen earlier in this game and especially later in this game when he just, man, I can't say it enough times, just making the clutch throws and the clutch plays when they absolutely needed to be made. I mean, amazing. I mean, he maybe didn't have, those wow throws that we've been seeing. I mean, he had some pretty damn good throws, no doubt about it. Those 30 yards on a dime, like that Malik Benson, Oklahoma State touchdown, that out route to Malik Benson, I think as well in the Northwestern game, things like that. But man, when the pressure was on, when he needed to step up, he was the guy that delivered. No doubt about it. Dante delivered. So let's talk about this fourth quarter a little bit. When Oregon was ahead 17-3, I felt really good. I thought that they were really going to start to pull away at that time. But you got to give credit where credit is due. Penn State, when their backs were against the wall, they came out, I think it was like a 4-play, 75-yard drive or something like that. They go down, get into the end zone. Next drive, they get the ball. They go down into the end zone yet again. And right at that time, end of the fourth quarter, end of regulation, all of the momentum, the crowd is back into the game. Earlier in the game, when Oregon's defense was playing the way they were, the crowd was frustrated. It was quieter. You heard Fire Franklin a little bit. And then when Penn State started to come back, now this crowd got back into it. And that whiteout atmosphere that you'd come to expect is what you saw. But what a job for this team to be able to refocus and weather the storm when now Oregon's backs were against the wall, like Penn State's were early in the game. When Oregon's backs were against the wall, they refocused. Brand new ball game in overtime, and of course they made the plays when all was said and done. One last thing that I want to talk about before I really break down the box score a little bit more in depth. De'Aaron Hill, man. He is RB1 on this team. I'm not exactly sure what the status of Noah Whittington is. You saw him come in the first quarter. Didn't play a lot of the second quarter. I think there were some people on Twitter online that thought he was injured again. He came back a little bit into the third quarter, but man, it's just like De'Aaron Hill's the best guy. He's the best guy we got. He's the best running back right now on this team. I mean, it doesn't matter. Montana State, Northwestern, Oklahoma State, and now Penn State. It doesn't matter the level of competition. When he touches the ball, explosive plays in the run game happen. He had a 24-yard run in the first quarter. He had a 24-yard run in the third quarter. And man, the more I saw Jaden Lamar come into the game, I mean, when he was out there in big spots, it made me nervous. There's been multiple times earlier in the season where his vision or lack of vision, reading his offensive linemen, has maybe cost Oregon some yardage. You saw a little bit of that in this game. De'Aaron Hill, speed, explosiveness, vision, he's right there. I don't know how he is as a pass blocker. Maybe that's preventing him from getting into, really getting into those significant reps like we've seen with some of these veterans right now on this Oregon team. But dude, it's just, he proves it. He proves it every single week that he's the best running back on this team. These true freshmen are awesome. And Jordan Davison is just flat out inevitable. I mean, you get him in a short yardage situation, he's going to get it. Why do they even play the third down? Why do they even play the fourth down? Just give him the first down. If Zero's going to get the ball, he's going to get that first down. That's certainly a sure thing right now. Big win. Let's dive in and break down the box score a little bit more. Dante Moore, 29 of 39, 248 yards, 3 touchdowns. I just mentioned De'Aaron Hill, 10 carries, 82 yards. and a score. Bryce Betcher had 12 tackles. It's interesting. I think I said it leading up to this game, or maybe it was leading up to I think it was leading up to this game where I'm like, dude, Oregon State and Washington, that's where Bryce Betcher comes out with his double-digit tackle games. This game certainly did really well flying around to the football. Dante Moore, 7 catches, 89 yards. He made big clutch catches. We talk about big throws from Dante. Dante had big clutch catches. I think it was the 29-yarder later in the game. And this is from a true freshman. You not only see like the route running ability and the speed and agility and all that, but you saw the strength of him catching the ball outside with his hands and then keeping the ball out there. You certainly see the strength in his arms and his hands with that type of reception. Oregon rushed for 176 yards. That's 4.5 yards per carry. Gary Bryant Jr., he made some big-time clutch catches when it mattered most. He's kind of that slot receiver when all the attention's focused on other guys. He's that veteran receiver that you go to 6 catches, 55 yards, and the 25-yard touchdown in overtime. One interesting stat from both teams, Oregon and Penn State combined for 8 for 10 on fourth downs. There was a lot of going for it. There was a lot of aggressiveness. Nobody was holding anything back in this type of contest. What a big win for this program. What a big win for this team. A couple of weeks from now, they got a big one coming up against the Indiana Hoosiers. And here we are yet again. Oregon and Ohio State seem to be the best teams in the Big Ten. Huge win for the Ducks, getting into that slugfest, playing that physical style of game. They've proved that they can win playing any type of style. You throw anything at them, and they've proven to be able to do it so far this season. All right, we're going to break this one down a little bit more on Monday after I do my rewatch. Until then, I'm Ted LaRue. Go Ducks. Holy Wallawa. We will see you in the next edition of That Show Out West.